Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up now. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up now.
Hello and welcome in, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully, you guys are having a great evening. I don't know if I should go up or down because I'm like hitting the desk with my chair arm. Well, I guess I could put them up. I guess I could put them up. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Then I can scoot in a little bit more. I don't know why I'm one of those people I'll hit into the desk every time, and I feel like you guys can hear that. So I don't want to bother you guys, but welcome in. Welcome to tonight's live. If this is your first time here on the channel, my name is Tanya, or Titanium Built. Thank you for joining me tonight. We are going to be doing some more the last read through of the testimony. I can't speak tonight. The testimony that we've been going over. So we'll let some people kind of come in, and I'm going to try to figure these out. These charms. I think they only have like two. Like there's just two modes here we're working with. I wish they went back. That's what I need. I need a chair where these arms are like, they can go away. That would be great. But our chairs match. So, I mean, I'm not getting a new one. We just got these. But if I could have it in a perfect world, I would. Because I'm constantly like hitting the desk. So that's my sad story for another day. But anyways, you're welcome. I don't mind. I don't mind, Courtney. Welcome in. And welcome, baby girl. Hola. Hey, Mary Beth. And Ladybug's in here. Look at that. Go me. And if you guys happen to, I don't know if you could see it on my head there, but I burnt myself with the hot iron. So if you see that, I'm like, and you're looking, you're like, what is going on? I don't even know what's going on with my hair, but if you see it, I don't want to talk about it. I burnt myself twice this week. Okay. I'm not doing very good with not burning myself. Hey, Bree, I actually had to go and I burnt myself on the neck And I was like, oh gosh, you know how those burns are. They look like a hickey in like 2 days. And I walked out and I was like, Vincent, I just burnt my neck. I was like, so if you see something in a couple of days, I was like, that's what that is. Because he would just wouldn't let me live that down. He would be joking with me. I could hear it now. Hey, Maga Mama. Welcome in, everybody. It's good to see you. Hey, Crystal. How are you doing tonight, Crystal? Hey, Dawn. Okay, I gotta get back down to the bottom. Hey, Christy. Hey, get to the ducking point. Welcome in, everyone. Hey, Tracy. And if you haven't yet, hey, Mandy S., you know you can dance your way on over to that like button. That does help the channel grow, and it's free to do. If you guys don't mind hitting the like, that would mean a lot to me. And we'll get into tonight's live. I do have some stuff I was going to go over. I forgot to go over this last night with you guys, the last couple of lives. So there's different charges for the different suspects in custody. So I wanted to tell you what their charges were. So tonight we're going to go straight from straight into the day of the murders when we go to read the testimony. So buckle up for that. There's going to be more new stuff coming out. I was reading a little bit today and I was like, oh, you better just stop reading because this is, I was reading ahead. I was like, I want to know what happens next. Because we heard from Paul Grice, who is one of the suspects. He is supposed to get, for his testimony, he's supposed to get life in prison, no death penalty. And I guess he considers that, a life, at least he has a life somewhere, right? He does have kids at home and he has a wife at home. So maybe that had something to do with him going ahead and pleading guilty. That guy got him. I mean, those people, all five of them are, if you couldn't pick, I mean, I guess it's hard to find five people that are going to commit murder, right? In general. But to get five of them, or four, I guess you would say, and one was like more of the ringleader, to get 4 or 5 of them in one group and get them to all agree to take out one person, then it goes to 2 people and they're still willing to help. I was like, well, I don't, they had to have been doing more a Bible study than just reading that Bible. I know they were drinking. He said he had a drinking problem. Paul did, but I think they were doing a little more than that. I don't know. I guess drinking can really have a way with you, but whew, okay. So we'll get into the reading. Let me put the I'm gonna put the chat. I forgot to put the chat on for us, like for y'all for tomorrow, or whoever does the replay. So let me just put that in here really quick. Should have had that ready to go. Okay. And then we'll just put it on subscribers for like 2 minutes. And then live chat replay. Okay. And they even do the leaderboard now. Like they leave that up. I guess it's up to the creator. I just leave it up. I think it's cute. I haven't really seen it yet, like on that side, but I've seen it on this side and I like it. So, okay. Let me get everything just ready to go for the live. Because, now's the time to do it. Now I just need to pull this up, the transcript. So, let me see if I put me like this, is that bad? No, that's not too bad. I was just making sure you could still see the pretty scenery in the background, a fall day. I think I might have like clipped it a little bit too fast, but that's okay. Hey, Joyce. All good. I'm glad you guys like it. And hey, Faith. I was like, I might not have any like loud, obnoxious videos that I play in between, stuff. Like, I just can't do those. But I was like, I could do this. I could do this little bit of movement without it catching my attention. So please like, subscribe, and share if you guys don't mind. And we'll get into our readings. I'm going to start us back on the page before. So we were on 112. We just got finished reading page 112. So we're going to Just that way we can get our mind back to where we were. And as soon as I start reading, I always feel like I get back to where I was. And so we're going to be basically going in to the day of the murders. Last night on our live, we read on Cora's side because Cora took a plea deal as well. She pled, I think she's getting 30 years for pleading guilty, but she didn't personally. I mean, this not like this matters, but Paul killed probably both of them, maybe if not Veronica. We know Veronica, maybe Jilian as well with the final stabs. So with Cora, not, I guess, being like complicit in that way. She was more of the, here she comes, that was her job. Tell Tiffany when she was coming. That was more of her job. So I think that's why they maybe agreed to that. And I think because they have 5 people, the more people they get to turn on each other, the better off they're going to be in the long run. So, and now they have 2 of the 5. I wonder who will flip next. I think that Cole might, if he does, I think that he might because Cora did, or he might just do it just to do it. He has no stake to like really, he doesn't have anything invested in Tiffany Adams, not like Tad does. That's her boyfriend. Sorry, Tad, you're screwed. You're in there for the long haul. So she starts off by talking about Paul. And I want to tell you about the charges. Sorry. Charges really quick. And thank you, Ladybug. That's so nice of you. Thank you for all you do to bring us up the updates. Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks, Faith. I appreciate that. What was I going to say? I forget. Oh, I was going to say what the charges were. So Tiffany Adams, which is the grandmother, Tad McCollum, which is her boyfriend, and Cole Twombly, they're all each facing 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of unlawful removal of a dead body, 2 counts of unlawful desecration of a human corpse. Desecration, I can't say that word right, very good. And conspiracy to commit murder. So then Cora and Paul, they were both initially, they faced the same charges, but they have since reached plea deals in exchange for their testimony. So I don't know exactly what they'll be charged with. I think they were going to be charged with, I want to say 2 counts of first-degree murder. I'm not sure about Cora, though. I'm trying to think of the exact charge, but we're going to find out their sentencing and stuff after everything goes through the court system. So after, we hear about Tiffany's trial, Tad's trial, Cole's trial, which they do have a hearing coming up November 5th. So that's that's not too far away. And so we'll find out more, and then they're going to formally arraign them again, I guess, on that day. I don't know why they have to do that again. Maybe because there's only 3 of them now, but we'll see. So it says, when you say Paul, who, we're talking about who, and she says Paul Grice, and then it says, so it's just going to be Q and then the answer. So any discussions that were apart, or sorry, is this up? Okay, just want to make sure that was up for you guys. And let me make it a little bigger. Okay, maybe that might be too big. Yeah, it's going to be too big if I do it. I won't be able to see like both pages. So, okay. Any discussions that you were a part of as far as how the ladies were supposed to be killed in the trailer? No. And that probably could have been what saved her. And if I understand your testimony, then the ladies are supposed to be dumped in the freezer closed, thrown in the hole, and buried. That was my understanding. When you left the house, what were you driving? My half-ton. Was there anyone in the vehicle with you? Cole. Okay, where did the 2 of you go? To Paul's house. And why did you all go to Paul's house? So he could pick up one of Paul's pickups. Okay, so the plan was you're going to go to Paul's house, drop him off, and then he's supposed to take one of Paul's vehicles to Four Corners, which Four Corners is where they were supposed to meet the women that morning. And she says, yes. Did you drop him off at Paul's house? And Cora says, yes. Paul Grice's house we're talking about? Yes. Could you tell the court? We've talked about Ted Collins' house. Would you tell the court where is Ted Collins' house? South of 412. I believe it sits on East 120. Okay, how many miles south approximately of 412? 6 maybe. Okay, and is it west or east of Four Corners? It's west. So if you're at Four Corners and you want to go to Ted Collins' house, you basically would drive towards Boise City. Driving west on 412, you go approximately 5 or 6 miles into Cimarron County, and then you would turn and would go south a few miles. She says yes. Where did Paul Grice live? Just west of Tad. Okay, how close? 1/8 of a mile, maybe. So they live on top of each other. So basically, the houses they lived in are really, really close to each other. Yes. So when you go to Paul Grice's house, you're really getting close to Mr. Collins' house. Tad Collins' house. Yes. And when you go to Tad Collins' house, you're close to Paul Grice's house. And she says, yes. So I don't know, like, if he's saying that on, like, for a reason, if maybe they're trying to put, like, a vehicle in the area or her vehicle in the area. And, they're trying to place them at a certain spot because they do live so close together. But it says, yes, where is the Griggs community located with regard to Tad Collins' house? South and back to the west. Okay, 10 to 12 miles maybe. Okay, basically southwest about 10 miles. Yes. So you get to Paul Grice's house. What do you do then? I drop Cole off. Then what do you do? I went to Elkhart. And what route did you take? I went to Four Corners and up Highway 95. Okay, and from Paul Grice's house, where did you go to first? How did you get to 412? I went by Tad's house and then back west. Okay, so you left Grice's and went by Tad's house. You went north until you got to 412, went to Four Corners, then you went up to 95. Yes. And when you got to Elkhart, what did you do? I just drove around. Okay, in order to get to Elkhart, did you go by the crime scene? And she says, yes. Were there any other vehicles there at that time? No. So after you drove around a little bit there in Elkhart, what did you do next? I drove back south and found a spot along the highway that I could park and wait for Veronica to come by. And then she said, then they say, okay, did you have your personal cell phone with you? No. Where did you leave it? At home. Okay. You have any weapons with you? I had my pistol. Now, they all agreed, this is just crazy to me. They all agreed there was not going to be any shooting of anybody, right? So, because that would be too loud and all the things. But they all we're going to learn they all had a handgun on them or a weapon, a gun of some sort. And it's just like, that's why you had the stun gun. You're supposed to use the stun gun. I mean, I'm just saying, like, that's how, none of them were, like, not saying that they were, career criminals or anything, but they shouldn't have been doing anything like this. These people couldn't plan a birthday party, let alone this. I wouldn't even have, it's so bad. So she had her pistol. Okay, and what kind of firearm do you carry? A 9mm semi-automatic. Oh, that's not a small gun. Okay. Did you have the stun device with you? Yes. Where did you park at off Highway 95? Just on one of the dirt roads on the west side. I don't know what the number was. Okay, you mean one of the section line dirt roads? Yes. At this point in time, the best you recall Had you talked to anyone else on the cell phone, the burner phone? Not that I recall. So it appears that she's, they have those little pull offs that are like those little dirt road, like little dirt pull offs that you can pull off to if you need to, like change your tire, something, like that. And you're not just right on the road. And it sounds like that's where she was parked, facing towards the crime, where the crime was going to happen. And she was waiting on Veronica and Jillian to pass by, because Tiffany had told her this is the color and what kind of vehicle to look for. So it says, okay, at this point in time, Cole has one of the group. Oh, sorry. At this point in time, Cole has one, and the group with Tiffany has one. Talk about the phones. Yes. Pursuant to the plan, how many vehicles were supposed to be at the crime scene? Just that were supposed to be there is just the pickup and trailer and Veronica's car. Okay, so how was Tad Collum, Tiffany Adams, and Paul Grice supposed to get to the crime scene? In Clint's flatbed. And that's Cole's brother. So if they have a burner phone inside the truck, it would allow basically all of you to be able to communicate. Yes. So you're sitting on the road, you're on the west side of the road, on the dirt road. What happens next? I see what I think is Veronica's car come by and called Tiffany to make sure that I have the right car. Okay, what kind of vehicle were you looking for? Electric blue SUV. Okay, and what did you learn from Tiffany Adams? That was the right vehicle. Okay, then what did you do? She asked me if there was anybody else, and I told her there was a black pickup behind her as I pulled out behind them. Okay, so at this point in time, we have a blue vehicle. What direction is the blue vehicle traveling? South. And behind the blue vehicle is a black truck. Yes. I cleaned these before the live. That's crazy. What direction is it traveling? South. And then you're on Highway 95 also, and you're now traveling south. Yes. What happens next? Tiffany wanted to make sure that it wasn't Veronica's, it wasn't law enforcement, or it wasn't Veronica's fiance. Okay, how were you supposed to do that? I was trying to tell her what the vehicle looked like. Okay, but I got close enough to see plates, and they were Texas plates. Okay, did you tell Tiffany that they were Texas plates? Yes. Okay, then what happened next? Then we got to the correction curve, and Veronica pulled off to the east and I pulled off to the west side of the highway. Or no, that's backwards. Veronica pulled off to the west and I pulled off to the east side of the correction curve. Okay, when you say you pulled off, how did you pull off? I pulled off on the dirt road. Okay, just off the highway, going that direction. Let me see something really quick. I don't know if it'll come up. I was trying to find that road for you guys really quick, but it looks like it's just showing their okay, maybe this. Okay, this might help. It's kind of small though. Hold on. Son of a gun. Okay, here. This might work. It's not. It doesn't seem like it's going to blow up. Hold on. We'll get there. Okay, so here is the road that they turned off of. The L road. Trying to open in a new tab. Okay, so this is like these little roads that they went off of. So this is the road. Let me see if I can. That's not going to work. I was trying to see if I could find a better one. But it keeps taking me to that one. And I forgot about that. There was actually people out there like looking for them, like YouTube creators, right? I know. It's like nothing out there. That's why I mean, when there is nothing out there. That's why I was like, I was so dumbfounded with this case because I'm like, who could take them? Like, I was like, it has to be someone that knows they're out there. I mean, there is nothing out here. Nothing at all. Okay, so it says, okay, when you say you pulled off, how did you pull off? This is where we were, right? Yeah. And it says, just off the highway, going what direction? South, and then I turned back west towards the highway. Okay, so Highway 95, when you cross over into the state of Oklahoma, it goes down the section line. Is that right? Yes. Then at some point in time, does that section line continue, but it becomes dirt road? Yes. And then when you reach the next section line, it runs east to west. It's also a dirt road, right? Yes. So you basically went straight down 95 until you got to a dirt road, and then you just drove a little bit further. Yes. Approximately how far? Eighth of a mile, maybe? Maybe an eighth of a mile? Yeah. Okay. And then what did you do? Then I turned back west on the east/west road on the county dirt road. Yes. And how far down the county dirt road did you go there first? Maybe the same eighth of a mile west. Okay. To the highway. And at some point, like that's what she says, to the highway. Okay. And at some point in time, you're at the highway. Yes. And that's after the curve. That's on the, and then there's a question. It says, well, I guess it's right in the middle of the curve, isn't it? And her answer is, it's in the center of the curve. Yeah. It's in the center of the curve. Now describe for us, how did Veronica Butler, what did she turn off on? A dirt road. Okay. And was it the same dirt road that you parked on, that I ended up on? Yes, sir. Okay. So it's the same dirt road going west. It's just on the other side of 95. Yes. For the record, describe what the dirt road looks like. Well, it's a country dirt road that comes off the highway and goes back straight back west. How far do you have to go on that road before you meet the next dirt road going south? Maybe the same eighth of a mile. Okay. And if you stay on the same dirt road going south, do you reach 95? Yes. And how far do you have to go approximately before you reach 95? Maybe that eighth of a mile. Okay. Quarter of a mile at the most. Okay. So basically, the crime scene was supposed to be west of 95 there at the correction line. Yes. And when Veronica Butler turned and went west, she was going straight to where the crime scene was supposed to be at. Yes. Where was the trailer and Clint Twombly's truck? Where were they supposed to be parked at? On the north /south dirt road, right off the highway there. Okay, north of Highway 95. Yes. And the plan basically was Veronica Butler was going to basically drive up there to pick up her kids, right? Yes. And she was going to have to take her supervisor with her, Jilian Kelly. Yes. Man. I'm glad that they're making them ask all these questions, like, and they're different. They're different from each one, I feel like. So, because they had different roles. So, and she was going to have her supervisor with her. Yes. And Tiffany Adams was going to lure them out of their car and into the trailer. Yes. And then Tad Collum and Paul Grice would kill them. Yes. So when you park there on the country road, the dirt road there, just east of 95, you're facing west towards Cimarron County. What do you see? I could see the trailer and the top of the trailer and the top of the car. Okay, what happened next? I saw two people running from the trailer, that would have been Veronica and Paul, towards the car. or from the direction of the trailer towards the direction of the car? And when you saw those two people running, what were your thoughts? That things hadn't gone as they planned. And how is that? Because they were supposed to be in the trailer. So if they're not in the trailer and someone's chasing another person away from the trailer, then that's not what the plan was supposed to be. No. Then what did you do? I would have been like, peace. I drove across the highway and pulled up behind Veronica's car. See, I mean, she was down. She was down with it. Like, I mean, they all let this woman's, claims of child abuse that weren't even, I still don't know. I mean, as far as I know, they're not true at all, but she fed that into these people's minds that it was true. So then it says, Mr. Leach says, Judge, may I approach the witness? And the court says, you may approach. Thank you, Judge. And then it says, by Mr. Leach, the question is, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 6 and ask you if you'll look at that, if you'll look at our exhibit. And then the court says, counsel, you both have State's Exhibit 6. Wish I knew what that was. Maybe they'll tell us. Mr. Weber says, yes, Your Honor. Miss Miskell, yes, Your Honor. Because they all have different attorneys. That's why we're hearing different people's names. So by Mr. Leach, the question, I'll begin by apologizing to you and telling you that it's not to scale. For illustration purposes, we've added a truck and trailer, and then we've added a blue truck. But whenever you get rid of those things, you've seen State's Exhibit 6 before, what it depicts. Yes. I want to see that. And again, I'll apologize because I don't want to see like the bodies, but you know what I mean? This is just like a picture of like the scale. It's not like a, crime scene photo or anything. It just is going to show you where everything was parked that day. So it says, I'll be apologizing to you and telling you that it's not to scale. Okay, we read that part. And again, I'll apologize because it's not to scale, but on State's Exhibit 6, as far as what I've handed you, there is a blue truck that's at the bottom of State's Exhibit 6. Where that blue truck is located at, is that where you parked at? Yes, sir. When you parked there and you look towards the south and you see where Veronica Butler's vehicle is located, approximately how far is it originally from Veronica Butler's vehicle to the back of the trailer? I don't know, maybe a car length and a half. Okay, so for the State's Exhibit 6 to be completely and totally accurate, would there need to be a little more distance between the trailer and Veronica Butler's car? Maybe a little bit. And Veronica Butler's car would be which vehicle? The blue one with the door open. Okay, and Clint Twombly's truck would be which vehicle? The one hooked to the trailer. And in State's Exhibit 6, is it the vehicle that's located furthest north? Furthest towards the top. Yes. For purposes of just illustrating generally where the vehicles were located at and where you parked at State's Exhibit 6, is it accurate for that purpose? And she says, yes. Mr. Leach, Judge, at this time we would move for the admission of State's Exhibit 6. And the court says, Ms. Weber, any objections? Not for demonstrative purposes only, Your Honor, she says. In the court, Ms. Miskell says, I'd make that same announcement. Okay, so they're going to allow it in. Okay, so let's see what they say. So you pull up, you park, and you are north of Veronica Butler's vehicle. When you look south, what did you see? Okay, I saw Paul and who I assumed was Veronica struggling on the ground. And at this point in time, do you see anyone else there at the crime scene? Not at that moment. And what did you do? I got out and went towards Paul. As you're walking towards, tell you what, as far as you said, you saw Paul Grice and Veronica Butler, what you believe to be Veronica Butler at that time struggling. Is that correct? Yes. Where were they at? Where were they located at? Between Veronica's car and the trailer. Okay, but were you able to see them? Yes. does that mean that they were, and she says west of those vehicles, so that they'd be in your line of sight? A little bit, yes. Okay, so you get out of your vehicle, you're walking towards them. Is that correct? Yes. You're on the west side of Veronica Butler's car? Yes. As you get closer to them, so say now you're right there next to Veronica Butler's car. What do you see at that time? So so he's saying like right when you get up there and you're like right up to her car, what do you see? Tiffany came from the vicinity of the trailer. Okay. Do you see Tiffany Adams? Is this the first time that you've seen her? Yes. At this point in time, do you see Tad Collum? No. Do you see Jillian Kelly? No. Do you hear anything at this time? Paul was asking for help. He needed help. Okay. Who was he talking to? Me or Tiffany or anybody? Okay. I'm sorry. It made me chuckle a little because Veronica was getting one up on him. You know what I mean? If he didn't have that hammer or the knife or the stun gun, I mean, because actually, no, if he had the knife and the stun gun, I think that I still think that, no, the knife's, no, I think it was the hammer that really did her in. I mean, he stabbed him his own self. He stun gunned him his own self. And she wasn't, she was going to give it to him. If it would have been just them two and he wouldn't have like done like a sneak attack on her. He was getting his butt kicked. Man, my nose is itching so bad. Sorry. Feels like, I don't know. It feels like money, if that's what that means. Oh, I think it's this because my hair is doing something funny there. There we go. I think it was like tickling it. Okay. So it says, he didn't call out your name or Tiffany's name. No. So he's just asking for help in general. Yes. What is he saying? He just said, I need some help. I need some help. Then what happened next? Tiffany handed me a cell phone and I handed her the taser. Okay. That was in my hoodie pocket. Okay. And why did you hand her the taser? I told her she could go help Paul. Okay. At various times, perhaps when you've testified before the officers, and we've all discussed when you refer to the term taser, yeah, is that the same thing as a stun device? Yes. Can you describe that for the court? It looked like a flashlight. Okay, so it's a flashlight on one side, and it's also shocks somebody if you touch them with it. Yes, if you push the right button. If you push the right button, and she says, uh-huh, and the question says, okay. And as far as the stun device goes, all of you received this exact type of stun device. Yes. So Paul needs help. He's asking for help, and you give your stun device to Tiffany. Yes. Adams. And she gives you a cell phone. Yes. Pursuant to the plan, what are you supposed to do with the cell phone? She had brought me a metal animal can and tin foil, and I was supposed to wrap them in the tin foil and put them in the animal box. What? I have never heard that. Okay. So she's supposed to collect the phones, I guess. And then she said, okay. And the question was like, okay. And she says, destroy them, wrap them in tin foil, and put them in animal box. Okay. Okay. That's what your job was. And the answer is yes. Okay. So now you had one cell phone. What did you do next? I got in Veronica's car and got the other cell phones out of the console. See, knowing now, like, okay, so her cell phone was turned off and Jillian's were turned off like immediately. Like I had heard like once I got to that spot, but it sounded like it was a few minutes, but I think that it was probably just a few minutes. I think all of that stuff happened in a span of just a few minutes. The whole, killing, or the whole, trying to hit her with the hammer in the back of the horse trailer, to her running, to him chasing her, sorry guys, I don't know why my head is itching so bad. But him, like, catching up with her, I think all of that was probably just a couple of minutes. It just seemed like it was a lot longer because I think that I just think that I thought it was a lot longer, but I don't think it took that long. So it says, okay, what did you travel in order to do that? What way did you travel in order to do that? And then she says, I had to go back north to get to the passenger side door of her car. Okay, so you were going to retrieve the other cell phone through the passenger side door. Yes. So you walk back north, and then what did you do? Got in the car and got the cell phone. Okay, so at this point in time, you have both of the cell phones. Yes. And then what did you do? I took them to the back of the flatbed on the driver's side and found a cinder block and destroyed them. When you say flatbed truck, the truck what truck are you talking about? Clint's, the one hooked to the trailer. So as you're walking south, you're going towards Clint Twombly's truck. Do you go to the west side of the trailer or the east side of the trailer? East side. At this point in time, have you glanced over and seen anything else in regard to Paul Grice and Veronica Butler? Just that they were on the ground. Okay. So you retrieve the cell phone from the car and you have a cell phone. At that point in time, did you see Paul Grice on top of Veronica? And she says yes. And then the question is, and would you tell the court what you did? What did you actually see? I saw him on top of her on the ground and his arms going up and down. Okay, based on what you saw, did you believe was happening? I believed he was stabbing her. But were you actually able to see the knife at that time? No. At this point in time, have you seen Tad Collum yet? No. Have you seen Jilian Kelly there at the crime scene? No. Pursuant to the plan, who was supposed to kill Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelly? Tad Collum. And then Miss Miskell, she's like in, mid-thought. She says, objection, Your Honor, asked and answered. I don't know if that's how she talks, but the court says sustained. At this point in time, where did you believe Jilian Kelly was? Inside the trailer. If I understand your testimony, when you've gone to the back of Clint Twombly's truck, you've gotten some type of cinder block and you've attempted to destroy the phones. Is that correct? Yes. What did you do? Then I took them back to my pickup that had been moved. Okay. Then I got the animal can out. Okay. And I put them in there. Okay. Who moved your truck? Tiffany did. Where was the truck moved to? Next to on the east side of Veronica's car and a little bit in front of it. So that way nobody could see it appears, right? You got the trailer truck, you got her car kind of there, and then you got them kind of blocking, it seems like. So between her car and the trailer. And then it said, Mr. Leach says, okay, Judge, may I approach the witness? The court says you may. Thank you, Judge. I'm going to hand you what's been marked State's Exhibit 7. Again, just for demonstrative purposes, illustration purposes. Do you recognize where your truck's been moved to? Yes. And does it generally accurately reflect where your truck was moved on March 30th? There at the crime scene? Yes. Again, there would probably have been more space to the north and more space to the south. Is that correct? Because the space between the trailer and the car you said was about a car length and a half. And she says yes. Okay, but as far as the general location, that would be correct. Yes. And then Mr. Leach says, Judge, at this time, we would move to admit State's Exhibit 7. No objection. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So it says, so you smash the phones, and what do you do? And what do you do? She says, I walk back to my pickup to get the can out and put them in the can. Where was the can located in your pickup? It was behind the passenger side seat. As you walk back towards your pickup truck, what path did you take? Down the driver's side of the trailer to the passenger side of my pickup. Okay, so basically you're walking straight north. Yes. And you're on the east side of the trailer. Yes. So once you clear the trailer and you're approaching your truck, What are you able to see? Anything with regard to the crime scene towards the west? No. Could you tell the court why? Because the trailer gate was open. According to the original plan, was the trailer gate ever supposed to be opened? Oops, I didn't mean to do that. No. And this is there at the crime scene, and she says no. So when the trailer gates open, it blocked your view. Yes. What did you do next? I went to the pickup and put the phones in the animal can. Okay. And where was the animal can at? Okay, they just asked her this. Behind the passenger side seat in my pickup. Okay, so you've busted the phones. Is there anything else you're supposed to do with the phones after you put them in the animal can? To wrap them in tin foil. Okay, and did you do that? Yes. And then what did you do? Then I turned around to see what was going on. Okay, what did you do with the animal can? I shut it and left it in the front seat of the truck, of your truck, of my pickup. Yes. Okay, so whenever you turn to see what's going on what direction are you facing? West. And would you tell the court, what do you see? The trailer gate was open and the freezer was at the back of the trailer, and Paul and Tad were loading Veronica in the trailer. If you know how the trailer had been, or the trailer been moved closer to Veronica at this time. Yes, at some point it had been backed up. Do you have any idea who backed it up? No. Okay, I didn't see who backed it up. You said you turned to the west, but as far as what you're looking, as far as the trailer, where was the trailer located at with regard to where you were located at? It would have been, the gate was almost right in front of me, okay, because I had to step around it. And the trailer was then to my left, to the south. Okay, trailer was to the south, yes. Okay, so at this point in time, you were north of the trailer and you're looking at the trailer. Yes. Okay, would you describe to the court what you're looking at? What do you see? I see the freezer and Tad and Paul loading Veronica in the trailer, between the freezer and the side of the trailer. Okay, was the freezer rectangular shaped? Yes. And how was it set in the back of the trailer? Where the open side of it would have been towards the front of the trailer. The hinge was towards the back. It's weird. So basically, it stretches, it's longwise. It's set in there longwise in the back of the trailer. It's sitting from side to side, not front to back. Yes. Okay. And where was the gap at between the side of the trailer and the freezer? Was it on the east side of the freezer or the west side of the freezer? West side of the freezer, passenger side of the trailer. Okay. Where was Tad Collum located? Inside the trailer. And where was Paul Grice located? Outside of the trailer at the back. Okay. And what was Tad Collum doing? Trying to pull Veronica into the trailer. And what was Paul Grice doing? Trying to lift her arms and her body into the trailer. While you were there looking, did you see them? Were you able to see them completely and totally get her loaded into the trailer? No. At this point in time, have you seen Jilian Kelly? No. With regards to the freezer, did you see anything under the freezer? 2 yellow ratchet straps. Have you ever seen those before? Not those specific ones. Okay, pursuant to the plan that you guys had, did anyone ever mention or talk about the use of straps? Not that I recall. And can you describe the straps for the court, please? They're 3 to 4 inch wide yellow ratchet straps. Okay, how many were there? 2. Where were they located at? Under the freezer. Okay, were they like piled together? Were they stretched out? How were they stretched out? Okay, while you're seeing Veronica Butler and you're seeing Tad Collum and you're seeing Paul Grice, you're seeing what they're doing. Do you see Tiffany Adams? No, not in front of me there. Okay, you don't know what she's doing at this very time? No. Okay, so what do you do next? Turn around. And then what do you do? I went and I got a shovel off the back of the flatbed because there was blood on the ground that Tiffany wanted covered up. And how do you know Tiffany Adams wanted the blood covered up? Because when I turned around, she was there. That's freaky. She's probably just right there. I need you to clean up the blood. Like, do something yourself, lady. When she turned around, she was standing right there. That's scary. Okay, so you're watching Tad Collum and you're seeing Paul Grice. They're loading Veronica Butler. You see the freezer, you see the straps under the freezer. And then whenever you turn around, you see Tiffany Adams. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, and what was the discussion? I mean, what was Tiffany Adams saying at that point in time? She was upset because there was a lot of blood on the ground. Well, pursuant to the plan, there was supposed to be blood on the ground. No. So what did you do? I went and I got the shovel and tried to throw dirt on it. Where was the shovel located at? In the back of Clint's flatbed. Okay. What path did you take to the truck? Around the same way I took the cell phones. Okay. On the east side, west side, I mean, east side of the trailer. East side of the trailer. So you go and you get the shovel. And then what do you do when you get the shovel? I went back and I started putting dirt on the blood. Okay. What path did you take to bring the shovel back? Same one I took before. Okay. What do you see at the back of the trailer? Whenever you're coming back with the shovel, nothing. The gate has been shut. Okay. And Paul was inside the trailer. Okay. When you come back, did you see Tad Collum? No. Did you see Tiffany Adams? Yes. What was Tiffany doing? She was looking at everything that happened, the blood, the trailer. Okay, what happened next? He said he cut his finger and was asking for tape. And where was Paul located at? In the trailer. Okay, and so I got a roll of duct tape out from behind the driver's side of my pickup and handed it to Paul. And how did you hand it to him? Through the slats in the side of the trailer. And that was Paul's story too. Okay, can you describe where those are at on the trailer? At the top of my head, if I'm standing on the ground, okay, so basically there's some openings at the top of the trailer where a person could stick something through the trailer. Yes. But those openings aren't at the top. They're not like in the middle or at the bottom. No. Okay. And did you hand him some duct tape? Yeah, I did. And what happened next? I finished putting dirt on the blood. The trailer pulled off. Tiffany reached in and shut Veronica's car off because it was still running. I loaded the shovel in the back of the pickup and we got in and drove to her house. Okay, when you were shoveling dirt on the blood there at the crime scene, did you notice if there was anything else in the puddle than blood? Floor dry had been put on the blood. And what's floor dry? It's an absorbent that we used in the shop. Okay, so it wasn't like, it could be the same. I'm gonna look it up. Because we heard it was like kitty litter, remember? Floor dry absorbent. Oh, it's like this stuff that you see. It's like this stuff for like grease and things. Wonder what it looks like on like the other side. Hey, Crime Kitty, welcome in. Well, and welcome in everybody if I haven't seen you. When I be reading, it's, I just be reading. That's awesome, Ashley. Oh, that's awesome that he's getting to be somewhere else, like getting to be in a different part of the hospital. So that's what that is. Okay. I'm trying to see where we're at. Okay. She says it's an absorbent that we use in the shop. Okay. When you first saw the blood before you went to get the shovel, and had there been any floor dry put on the blood? No, not that I saw. Did you see anyone put the floor dry on the blood? I did not. Did you see where the floor dry came from? I did not. So when Clint Twombly's truck pulls off with the trailer, what direction do they head? South. Pursuant to the plan, is that the direction they're supposed to go? Yes. Then what did you do? Tiffany and I got in my pickup and I took her to her house. Okay, what route did you take? south to 95 to that back top that goes across to Keys, okay, to her house. So you go south and then you turn on the blacktop heading west. Yes. So while you and Tiffany Adams are traveling to her house, did you all visit and talk in the vehicle? A little bit. Okay. What was discussed? Just that things hadn't gone the way she planned and there was a lot of blood. And then right before we got to her house and we pulled up to her house, she asked if I would go down to where they were, where Tad and Paul were headed, and keep them calmed down. Okay. And we're talking about the burial site. Yes. Why was she worried about them? I guess she thought that they were, I don't know. And the question was freaked out about the blood. And she says, yeah. Wasn't supposed to be all that blood was there. No. What did y'all expect? You were supposed to do this with knives and hammers. And did you expect them just to like not bleed? They were that evil they didn't bleed. That must be it, right? Because that's what you were told, that they were evil. Well, Jillian, she was just a nobody. That's basically what Tiffany said, and Veronica was evil. So these people are not good criminals. I'm so thankful for that. So thankful that criminals are not very smart, because then we get a laugh at them when stuff like this happens, like Google searches and stuff, like in burner phones and stun guns. Like, Tiffany Adams is a piece of work. So, says here, so did you drop Tiffany Adams off at her house? I did. What did you do next? I went home. Well, I guess she didn't go and help them calm down, did she? What route did you take? West to 171 and then south to east west 27, which is the dirt road that goes to my house, and then back east. Okay. When Tiffany asked you if you would go to the burial site and watch the guys and make sure they're not freaking out too much or whatever it is you were supposed to do, did you tell her you would do that? Yes. Sorry. I'm so glad that she thought she could control these people, and she didn't control any of them. She thought Cole was going to be the problem. I'm sorry. I think it was Cora. Cora was the problem. She said, did you actually do that? No. Like, that to me is like, oh, a true crime chef's kiss, because Tiffany, somehow she convinced all these dumbasses to go together with and do all this. But when it actually came down to it, none of them knew what the hell they were doing. None of them. And Cora's just like, I just wanted to go home and take a nap. Mm-hmm. When you arrived at your house, was there anyone there that you can recall? No. What'd you do next? I went in and changed my clothes, put them in a bag. The first thing I did was call my daughter to see where she was on my personal cell phone. Okay. She was doing chores, and then I changed my clothes, put all my clothes in a bag. And what did you do with them? I stuck them under the floorboard in my closet. She didn't want to go nowhere. Why? In case I had gotten something on them. Okay, what did you do next? I went to find Cole and see where he was at. And if I remember right, when Cole finished at the burial site, he was supposed to be taking Clint Twombly's truck and trailer and drive them to your house. Is that correct? Yes. In your own mind, how long did you think that would probably take? 45 minutes, maybe an hour? Okay, had it taken longer than that? I don't know for sure. Okay, so when you left the house, what was the purpose in leaving the house? To see where he was at. Okay. See if he needed my help with anything. Okay, what vehicle were you traveling in? My Chevy half-ton. What happened next? I met him on the road. Okay. What was he driving? He was in Clint's flatbed. Okay. He had unhooked a trailer. Where had the trailer been unhooked at? At their farm. At whose farm? The Twombly farm. Okay. When we talk about the Twombly farm, what's at the Twombly farm? Barns and a shop, livestock. Okay. And the livestock at the farm, who does it belong to? Yeah, Cora. Cole and I, the farm, Frank, Clint, Kenzie, everybody has some there. Okay, who owns the farm? It's held in a corporation and the Twombly family members own it. Oh my goodness. Okay, and that's where the trailer was left at. Yes. Was there any plan with regard to what to do with the trailer originally? No, not that I know. Not that I was aware of, no. Any plan as far as cleaning up the blood in the trailer? No. What did you do? What did you and Cole do next? We parked Clint's flatbed at some lease grass that we had. Okay, how close is the lease grass that you all had to the farm? 3 miles. Okay, and how far is the lease grass from your house? 5 miles. Okay, so basically the Twombly farm, the lease grass that you referred to in your house, it's all right there in the Griggs community. Yes. The lease grass, does it have water and power? Yes. So when you got to the house, you and Cole were at the house. Did Cole start doing something at that point in time? Yes, he started gathering clothes, sweatshirts, shoes. Why was he gathering clothes? Because he said Paul and Tad didn't have any. There's the clothes. What was your response? And then there's objection, spousal privilege. It's sustained. Okay. It says, I'm sorry, Judge. Judge, I'm just asking her what she said, not what Mr. Twombly said. Okay. Well, the statute 12 OS 2504 describes, okay, we don't need the court. All right. All right. Take a break for lunch there. So we're going to take a break. We're going to return with the court. Be recessed. Okay. So this is, she's back on the stand. Okay. So then Mr. Leach is up there and it says, question to Miss Twombly. Miss Twombly, did you or Cole Twombly, either one, ever take any clothes back to the burial site for Paul Grice or Tad Collum? No. What? At some point in time, did you find some items in the back of your truck that hadn't been there before? There was some things in the back of Clint's pickup when we got back that hadn't been there. Okay, and what were those items? Bag of floor dry and a claw hammer. And what did you with them? And what did you do with them? Put them in the back of the half ton, and then when we got home, switch them over to one of the flatbeds there at the house. Okay, and why were you moving them around? Because they had come from the crime scene. Okay, in the end, what did you do with those items? We took them, and when you say we, who took them? Cole and I. Who would you take? Would you take? Cole, okay, and the 2 burner phones that we had, so Cole Twombly and yourself, yes, okay. The floor dry and hammer and the 2 burner phones that we had and dropped them in an incinerator at the place where our stepson was living. Do they just have like incinerators just like wherever? Like, no, they don't. They don't have these just anywhere. So, okay. Basically, just fries whatever you need to be. I mean, that's just what it does. It's just a big, like, it reminds me of, like, I mean, it reminds me of a incinerator. I mean, if you think of an incinerator, that's exactly what it is. I'm trying to think of like a better, it just reminds me of like not ever wanting to be cremated because I'm looking at these pictures and it's spooking me out. So, right, Ashley? Yeah. But that's not evil. That's just God's misfits. So they went and did, oh. So they weren't messing around. They was like, we're not getting caught. It says, so your stepson, Frank Twombly, okay. Was that also in the Griggs area? Yes. Could you describe the incinerator? What did you ever look down in the incinerator? No. Had you ever seen the incinerator before? Just what was above ground. Okay. Who actually dropped the items down in the incinerator? Cole did. Ultimately, did you all go out to the Easter pageant in Kenton? Cole and I and my daughter Kenzie and her friend went. Clint and his brother came separately. Okay. And then Paul and his family and Lacey and their family were in the Easter pageant. What day was it that you guys went out there? That Saturday on the 30th. Yes. While you were out there, did anything unusual happen? Everybody's phones went off with the alerts that the two women were missing. Okay. The next day would be Easter Sunday. Yes, sir. And did you see Kinsey on Easter Sunday? I did. And did you know that you and your group had killed Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelly? Did she know? Sorry. She figured it out when she saw the post on Facebook. Okay. And she had seen the alerts on the phone. Is that right? Yes. What was her reaction? She was worried. She was scared. Did you give her any instructions as to what she should do if law enforcement asked her any questions? I told her that she didn't have to answer any questions and that if anybody asked that Cole and I had been to the big house. What? Okay. Was Kinsey upset? Yes. What was she most upset about? That Jillian had been killed because she had family. Did she find out that she was also a pastor's wife? Yes. Did you try to explain it to her the best I could? How do you try justifying the death of Jillian Kelly? I told her that Tiffany had said she knew those kids were being abused as well. Did she ask what happened to the bodies? She asked me if they were in a well somewhere. Okay, how did you respond? I told her to get her to quit asking questions. I said something like that. Okay, and left it at that. Okay, you've heard Kenzie's statement that she made to law enforcement. Is that correct? Yes. Is there anything with regard to that statement that she lied about? Other than not intentionally, no. Okay, yeah, she's and it's like trails off. Different words. She words things a little differently than you do. Yes. Skipping ahead at this point in time, you and Cole have a problem. You've got a horse trailer full of blood, the horse trailer that belongs to Tiffany. Yes. What did you all decide to do about it? We had some lease grass that was off the road from anything else, so we decided to take it down there to get it cleaned out. And that's the lease grass you talked about earlier that had power and the water, right? No, sir. A different lease grass. Yes, sir. Okay. The one where we parked the pickup was not the one where we parked the trailer. Okay. Was there someone else that was going to help you clean the trailer? Paul was supposed to help clean the trailer. Okay. What were they going to use to clean the trailer? A pressure washer. Where were they going to get the pressure washer from? Paul borrowed it from Barrett and Lacey Cook. Okay, and ultimately the trailer cleaned? Yes. Who cleaned it? Paul and Cole did. With that power washer? Yes. When they were done at the very end, last resting place, where was the trailer left at? At the Twombly farm. Where was it put out there at the farm? That's not where Paul and Cole left it at, I guess. That's where Cole and I left it. Okay, it got moved around a little bit, and the answer is yes. And at the very end, where was it left at? There at the farm? Yes. Where law enforcement found it at? Yes. On April 3rd, 2022, did Kinsey go to her brother's house? Yes. Did law enforcement also go to her brother's house? Yes. Where is that located at? Carrick, Texas. Did you find out about it? Yes. How did you find out about it? Lacey and Paul's wife, Lachey had been to New Mexico to pick up some chickens. And when they came back through Carrick, they came that direction. They stopped by and said that there was the Dallam County Sheriff and a black SUV parked at my son's house. Okay. And that was a concern for you. It was. It was a concern for you and Cole both, right? Yes. So then the question is, law enforcement officers are are visiting with Kenzie and she knows everything. How is that a problem for you guys? Because they were questioning my daughter. Okay, what did you and Cole do? We drove down there to Clinton's house. Okay, were you both armed? Yes. What was your purpose? I was going to get my daughter. Okay, short version. Ultimately, what happened? It says, short version. They questioned her and then sent her with her dad. Okay, what did you and Cole do? We left so we didn't cause any issues. Okay, did you visit and talk to anyone? Did you visit with or talk to anyone as far as the co-defendants with regard to this encounter in Carrick, Texas? When we left there, I called Tad because I knew he had found somebody for his own daughter just to see if he knew. You know? Okay. Found somebody for his own daughter. Oh, that doesn't make any sense. But it says what kind of rights I had as far as getting her, bringing her home or whatever. Okay. What did you tell Tad? Just that they were questioning Kenzie and I didn't know if I could just go get her. Okay. What advice did he give you? He said, she's your daughter. Go back and get her. Okay. At this point in time, does Tad call him know what Kenzie knows? No. On the following Wednesday, do you and your subgroup meet? Yes. When I say subgroup, you understand I'm talking about you, Cole Twombly, Tiffany Adams, Tad Cullum, and Paul Grice. Yes. And where did you all meet at? We were at Barrett and Lacey's for supper. Okay. We met in the driveway. Okay. So the big group is there and you're all meeting together. Yes. And then at some point in time, did the subgroup, the 5 of you, break off from that group and visit and talk? Yes. We're in the driveway. At that point in time, what did you tell everybody? That OSBI had taken Kinsey and that's all I know. Okay. And did you tell everybody what Kinsey knew? Most of it, yeah, that she had asked questions and I had answered them. Okay. So at this point in time, they knew that Kinsey was a threat. Yes. She knew everybody involved and she knew what they had done. Yes. Was there any kind of plan as far as Kinsey? Yes, ma'am. What was the group's thoughts? We were probably in trouble. I don't know. Okay, hope for the best, I guess. After the murders and before their arrest or before your arrest, did you have any conversations with Paul Grice? Yes. Approximately how many conversations did you have? 4 or 5 probably. Okay, and did you learn things from Paul Grice that you didn't know before? Yes. Would you tell the court what did you learn? I learned that there had been a hammer used that broke. I also learned that while he was in the trailer, Miss Kelly had come to and tried to defend herself, and he had killed her in the trailer on the way to the burial site. I'm sorry. She didn't come to like that. He lied when he says that. Okay, did you have any additional conversations with Tad Cullen between the time of the murders and the time of the arrest? A couple. Okay, what were the nature of those conversations? The same thing. The hammer, there had been a broken hammer that I didn't know was there. Okay, was he upset because it was left at the crime scene? I think everybody was, but yes. I'm trying to think, like, we knew about that hammer pretty, like, right away. They're mad about, yeah, well, you probably shouldn't have committed the crimes. I'm just gonna say that. And did you even know there was a hammer at the crime scene? No. What conversations did you have with Tiffany Adams? But what conversations did you have with Tiffany Adams between the time of the murders and the time of arrest? The same with everybody else. Okay. We hoped with Kinsey's statement that she was young enough her statement wouldn't be able to be used. Did you all visit? Wait. She's 16. What do you mean her statement wouldn't be able to be used? You done? Oh, y'all need to read some law books when you're in prison for the next 30 years plus. She says, we hoped with Kinsey's statement that she was young enough that her statement wouldn't be able to be used. Did you all visit about what happened to Veronica Butler's cell phone and what happened to Jillian Kelly's cell phone? I had asked her what she did with them, and she was building a fence at the time, and she told me they were buried at the bottom of a post hole. Okay. And then they have State's Exhibit A. They approach the bench. So it says, I'm going to ask if you recognize what's depicted in that photograph. It's a blue car. Do you recognize it? Yes. Where have you seen that car before? It's Veronica's. And is that the vehicle that was at the crime scene? Yes. In the photograph of the crime scene, that door's open on the driver's side. Is that correct? Yes. But when you all left the scene, was that door open or closed? Closed. To the best that you can recognize, has that the photograph of the vehicle, does it accurately depict the photograph? Has it been altered or changed in any fashion as far as you can tell? Not that I can tell. Thank you. And then Mr. Leach, Judge, we move for admission of State's Exhibit 8. Okay, no objection. Do you recognize what's depicted in the photograph? Yes. What's depicted in that photograph? Clint's flatbed truck that we used. Okay. And that was the truck that you borrowed that was used to pull the trailer that had the dead bodies in it. Yes. Does that photograph accurately depict that vehicle? Yes. And then they want to do State's Exhibit 8, or 9, I'm sorry, 9, no objection. What's depicted there? The back of the flatbed. When you say the flatbed, you're talking about Clint Twombly's vehicle. Yes. And are there cinder blocks in the back of that truck? Yes. The cinder block that you used to destroy the cell phones, though, is it still in the back of the truck? No. What did you do with it? I threw it out into the lease grass. And then they want to do State's Exhibit 10. I'm going to hand you State's Exhibit 11. Do you recognize what's depicted in the photograph? Yes. My half-ton Chevy. And is that the half-ton Chevy that you have testified to that you utilized to go up and down Hugoton, Kansas, February 28th? And you also used on March 30th to travel to the crime scene? Yes. Does that photograph accurately depict your vehicle? Yes. Then they want to State's Exhibit 11 will be entered, and then they're going to State's Exhibit 12. Do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph? Yes. What's depicted in the photograph? The back of that 91 half-ton Chevy. That's the back of your truck? Yes. Okay. Does it accurately depict? Yes. Okay. And then we go to State's 13, and it's the white stock trailer. And is that the white stock trailer that was at the crime scene? Yes. That's the one that had the freezer in it. Yes. That's the one that Veronica Butler and Jilian Kelly were put in. Yes. When they were dead. Yes. Do you recognize where it's parked at in the photograph? I'm not clear. There's not enough picture. Okay. It doesn't look like your farm. Could be. Okay. Does it accurately reflect what's depicted there? Yes. Okay, and then State's 14. Okay, so then this will be the Exhibit 15. They got 14 put into evidence, 15's the next. Do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph? Yes. What is it? It's a hoodie. Okay, do you know whose hoodie it is? I assume it's Cole's. Okay, was it in your truck? Yes. And do you know where the hoodie came from? Yes. Where did it come from? From a David Straight seminar. Not David Straight. Okay, it's a slogan. It has slogans and stuff that basically came from his education process as far as his political beliefs. Yes. Does it accurately depict what's reflected there? Yes. Okay, so then we're going to go to State's Exhibit 16. What is it? The back of the hoodie. So they want the front and the back. Okay, and again, is this information on the back of it? That's information that's basically comes from the state nationalist organization. Yes, David Straight. Uh-huh. And do you know where they got the hoodies at? I know where Cole got his. Yes. Where did Cole get his? From the David Straight seminar that he went to. Okay. And that was a seminar from where? Canadian, Texas. Okay. When he and Paul Grice went down there, no, him and Frank. That's right. Him and Frank went down there. And then the judge says the omission of states 16. And then it looks like Mr. Weber is going to, I think, cross-examine first. So Miss Weber, sorry. So Miss Weber says to Cora, Cora, you testified about carrying a sidearm on you at all times. I don't always have mine on me, but I usually have one with me. Okay, and that Cole also carries one. Yes. And more often than not, he has that on him. Yes. So it wouldn't be surprising if he had that on him when you went to Texas to retrieve your daughter. No. Okay. And it wouldn't be unusual that he had that sidearm on him when the state asked you about being at the cook's home. No, he would have it on him. Okay. And at Tiffany's home, yes. Okay. You testified about meetings with the four of you, and that is you, Paul, Tad, and Tiffany. Yes, ma'am. Cole was not part of those meetings, was he? Not the first ones, no. In fact, he wasn't part of them until Wednesday prior to the incident. Yes, ma'am. Okay, and the reason for that is he drinks a lot, doesn't he? He can, yes. Okay, and when he drinks a lot, does he talk a lot? He can, yes. Hold on one second. Don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel, share it out, share it with your friends. All faith, these people are not. I mean, if you could pick 5 people that, I mean, these are, can't pick anybody worse than this. Did you guys hear that? It almost sounded like someone's in my backstage, like the noise it makes, but there's nobody back there. That'd be weird if there was, actually. Oh, that was me on hitting the desk with my arm. So, okay. And when he drinks a lot, does he talk a lot? Yeah, he can. Yes. Okay. And that's the reason you all didn't want him involved. That's the reason Tiffany didn't want him there. Yes. Okay. Would he drink on Sundays when you were all together? Sometimes. Drink on Wednesdays when you were together? Sometimes. It wouldn't be strange if he was drinking on the Wednesday that you were saying you were all meeting, or you all met with Cole there. And it says no. What was his drink of choice? R&R. You ain't gonna be getting none of that no more. How much would he drink? Depended on the day. On the average, what would you say? How much did he drink? How much he drank? On average, 2 or 3 nights, or on average, 2 or 3 drinks a night. Cole was pretty busy working your guys' farm. Yes, ma'am. Okay. And working with the cattle. Yes, ma'am. And during this time of year, he was probably pretty distracted working on the cattle and the farms. Yes, ma'am. When you talk to Cole, was he ever distracted thinking about the farm or the cattle? Yes, ma'am. Has it been occasion in your 9-year marriage that you talked to him and he doesn't recall what you said? Yes, ma'am. When the 4 of you were having meetings in one of the vehicles at either of your property or the cook's property, where was Cole? Usually visiting with everyone else. So he might have not recognized that all 4 of you walked away and had a conversation. Not necessarily. Let's talk about vehicles you and Cole owned. You have the 91 you were telling us about. Yes, ma'am. The truck that you borrowed from Clint. Were there any other vehicles you have? We have a 98 Chevy. What color is that? White. It doesn't have global positioning satellite on it, does it? No. Is there a reason you chose not to use that truck? Because the door doesn't shut. The day of the murder, that morning, you say you drove Cole to Paul's home. Is that correct? Yes. And then you left. Yes. So you don't know what Cole did after he got out of your truck? No, I'm not there. And when you were at the scene, were the 2 women And when you were at the scene where the two women were murdered, you were paying attention to what Paul was doing, correct? Yes. You were paying attention to what Tiffany was doing. Yes. You were paying attention to what Tad was doing. Yes. And you were doing what you were supposed to be doing. Yes. So you have no idea if Cole was anywhere near there. No. And how long did you say the incident probably took place? Was it 45 minutes? From when are you talking? From the time that you were at the scene. Really? Until you saw Cole later. Yeah, probably somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour and a half. I don't know, somewhere in there. It wouldn't be strange for Cole to be somewhere you have no idea where he is for 45 minutes to an hour, would it? No. That wouldn't be strange. Okay. And you didn't see him that entire time? No. And then you testified you saw him on the road? Yes. And he was driving Clint's truck? Yes. Not strange for him to be driving Clint's truck? No. And the trailer was attached to that truck, was it? No. So you didn't see the trailer at that time, did you? No. When you testified to seeing the trailer, that was not at your farm, was it? Later on, you testified that DA asked you about when you saw the trailer and it was from your farm. Yes. When you talk about it, you said it was from the lease property. How far is that from your farm? 8 miles probably. Okay, so you couldn't have seen the trailer that was at the farm from the lease property. No. And you couldn't see the lease property from your farm. No, that lease property. Yes, I can see the farm from that lease property. We got more than one. Okay, and that's where the trailer was, or that's a different lease property. The lease property that you're referring to is where we left the pickup. Okay, and how close is that to your farm? 3 miles. And you could see Clint's truck from your farm, yes, but not the trailer. Depending on where it was parked, maybe not. When you were driving before the murder happened and you were driving the car and you testified that you called Tiffany after you came behind Veronica's car, you called Tiffany. Is that the only person that you called? Until after we left, yes. And then Miss Weber says, may I have a moment, Your Honor? Take your time. And then Miss Weber says, we passed the witness. So then Miss Miskell comes, cross-examination. Okay. Good afternoon. Okay. So per your testimony, you and Tiffany Adams pretty much grew up together, correct? We've known each other that long? Yeah. But you weren't necessarily friends when you were in high school, correct? No. When did your friendship start really forming with Miss Adams? After Cole and I got married, I guess sometime. Okay. And what year did you and Cole get married? 2015. 2015? And back in 2015, was Miss Adams dating Mr. Cullum? I believe so, yes. But per your testimony, the meetings of this group didn't begin happening until after COVID. Is that correct? Correct. So would you guys being you and Cole, get together with Tiffany Adams and Tad Cullum socially before that? Yes. And she answers no. Okay. What about Paul Grice? No. So you guys didn't meet socially until after COVID. Is that correct? Correct. Okay. I'm sure you've heard of the term God's misfits, correct? Yes. You kind of snickered at that. Is that what you referenced to yourself as a joke? Yes. Okay. Why was that? Because Cole made the comment one night that none of us really fit anywhere else. So we were just God's misfits. And that's something that you coined for yourself as a joke. Yes. Not that you were part or affiliated with any other national group called God's Misfits. No. Going to David Straight, you said that you had attended his seminars more than one time. Is that right? Yes. Okay. And that was, I believe you said your husband and your brother. Is that right? No. Okay. Who was it that besides you and Cole? Cole and Frank went to the first one. Paul and his wife, Lachey, and I went to the second one. And then Cole and I and Paul and Lachey and Barrett and Lacey went to another one together. Fair to say that Mr. Cullum never attended any of those seminars? No. What about Miss Adams? Did she ever go to any of those seminars? No. To your knowledge, did Mr. Cullum or Miss Adams, for that matter, ever try to become a sovereign citizen or a state nationalist? No. And I believe you said it's a process to go from being a United States citizen to being a state nationalist. Is that correct? Yes. Is there paperwork involved? Yes. Do you have to file it in court? In the courthouse? You don't have to file it through the court? No. How long does it take for one to become a state nationalist? At least 8 months. And did the Cooks ever become state nationalist to your knowledge? Not completely, no. Okay, what about the Grices? Not completely, no. What about you and Cole? No. When you say not completely, did Paul Grice start or Nick, I can't even say it. Initiate the process, sorry, to become a state nationalist? Yes. Okay, what about the Cooks? Yes. You had mentioned that Kenny Bob, his wife, and Josh. Who is Josh to Kenny Bob? His brother. Did they attend any of the seminars for David Straight? No. Did they try to become state nationalists? No. Okay, and my question to you is what is the benefit to becoming a state nationalist? The benefit? Yes. Less government regulation? Is there obviously you're well aware of the United States Constitution, correct? Yes, ma'am. Do you believe nationalists have their own constitution? No, ma'am. Okay, you testified that you guys couldn't really find a church that you all liked, so you kind of decided, let's get together on Sunday and Wednesdays, let's worship and eat and commune. Is that correct? Yes. Is that a fair assessment of what would generally go on? Yes, ma'am. And the people that attended those meetings outside of you, Mr. Twombly, Paul Grice, Tad Cullum, and Tiffany Adams was Lacey and Barrett Cook, correct? Yes. And who else? Paul's wife. Okay, Lachey, yes. Okay. Kenny Bob and Josh, Kenny Bob's wife, Paul's cousin, Brad, Clint, Frank, Chloe, and then the kids. And when would you meet on Sundays or Wednesdays, was it? Did you consider it to be a peaceful time amongst yourselves? Yeah. Okay. When people attended these meetings, were they armed? Typically. Okay. And I kind of want to talk about that. In Texas County and Cimarron County, it is unusual for citizens who reside here to carry a firearm. Is it unusual? No. Pretty typical, would you say? Yeah, very. Okay. You testified that back in 2022, that's when you started becoming closer to Tiffany Adams. Is that correct? Somewhat in there, yes. Okay, and you testified that your stepson, Frank, and her son, Wrangler Rickman, were good friends. Is that correct? No. No, okay, tell me where I went wrong on that. My stepson, Vern, and her son, Wrangler, had been friends. And I believe that you shared in the fact that both of your sons were dealing with addiction. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, sorry. Okay, furthermore, wasn't there discussions per your testimony about Tiffany's grandchildren? Yes. And that they were brutally abused. Is that correct? Yes. In fact, they were essayed more than one time, correct? To my understanding, yes, ma'am. And did you know about that before this case came about? Yes. Okay. And you've had time to look at all the discovery that's been provided to your counsel. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. And it's included in evidence in there of any SA, is it not? Yes. And you testified that Kinsey would often babysit Tiffany's grandchildren, correct? Not often, but she did babysit, yes. Okay. And how old were the grandchildren? 6 and 8, I believe. Okay. 5 and 7 or 6 and 8. And then how old was Kinsey at the time? 15? 15? Uh-huh. And you said that she was aware that they were being essayed, correct? Yes. Okay. Did she, without telling me what she said, did she say how she came to know that? She had heard us talk. Okay. Just overhearing things. Yes. Okay. And were you aware that the perpetrator of these SA against these children was a part of Veronica Butler's family? Yes, ma'am. Okay. It was her brother, correct? Yes, ma'am. Okay, fair to say that if you know, isn't it true that Miss Adams went through the court system to try and get some help to protect these children? Yes, ma'am. And was she successful in that? No, ma'am. To your knowledge, did Miss Adams go to the police and report to law enforcement the SA? I believe so, but I'm not positive. Okay, and you're also aware that the information was turned over to the district attorney of District 1 to file charges, and charges were declined. I believe so, yes. And so at this point, going into 2024, Miss Adams, to your knowledge, has tried to get help through the court system, has went to law enforcement and has reached out to try and get aid for these children and has been denied that access to that aid. Is that correct? To my knowledge, yes, ma'am. Okay, and Mr. Collum, was he assisting her in trying to legate the matters in a civil courtroom? Yes, ma'am. Based on your observation, Miss Twombly, did the fact that these children were not being protected affect Miss Adams or Mr. Collum? And she says, affect them. And the question is, emotionally? Absolutely. Okay. Did you ever see Mr. Collum upset about that for those facts? Absolutely. Okay. And the same with Miss Adams. Yes, ma'am. In fact, did you share in their frustration and their emotions? Yes. And I believe you even said you and Miss Adams would have conversations once or twice a week about the grandchildren. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Okay. And that was outside the meetings of Wednesday and Sundays. Yes. Okay. You had mentioned that you had said that Kinsey observed the behavior of these grandchildren. Do you recall testifying to that earlier this morning? Yes. What observations do you know, if any, what since Kinsey observed? So she says, the same as the rest of us, they were emotionally up and down, mad one minute, happy the next. I don't know if they shared with her what had happened or not for sure, but yeah, most of their mood swings and their demeanor. And fair to say that you observed that yourself, correct? Yes, ma'am. And are those also your observations of the children's behavior? Yes, ma'am. And often would you see, were the grandchildren there on Wednesdays and Sundays? Most Wednesdays and Sundays, yes. So fair to say you saw them at least once, possibly twice a week. Yes, ma'am. You testified earlier that Miss Adams said she wanted to get rid of Veronica Butler. Do you recall that? Yes, ma'am. And you testified that you took it to mean that she wanted her dead. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Did Tiffany ever come out and say, I want to kill Veronica Butler or I want Veronica Butler dead? Not that I can recall. Mr. Leach asked you after you had this conversation, sometime after August of 2023, he asked, or are you basically said you didn't call the cops, right? Right. Why didn't you call the cops? Honestly, I hope she wouldn't go through with it. Okay, you mentioned earlier that Tiffany Adams had financed Wrangler. Tell us what that means. Paid for his attorneys, took care of his kids, all of it. And during 2023, to your knowledge, was Wrangler Rickman sober? No. So if he's not sober to Miss Adams, then the caretaker of the children, yes. And that I believe you said that your husband, Tad Collin, Paul Grice, and the cooks was that out to Tiffany's house? Yes. Okay. And that's when Wrangler Rickman had law enforcement to try get the kids. Is that correct? Correct? Yes, ma'am. Okay. And I believe you testified that everybody was armed, plus there were extra guns. Yes, ma'am. Why did you guys, or speaking for yourself only, why did you feel the need to have firearms, or extra firearms, I should say? I didn't bring extra firearms, just the one that I usually carry. Okay, fair to say that you felt the need to be there in order to protect these grandchildren? Yes. Did you feel that Wrangler Rickman was a danger to these children? Yes. You said he was with his girlfriend at the time. Do you recall her name? No. No, okay. To your knowledge, did Mr. Rickman try to take the kids again from Miss Adams? Not to my knowledge, no. So let's fast forward to what I believe you said February of 2024, that Tiffany had come to you and said, you've got to do something about Veronica Butler. We've got to do something about Veronica Butler. And your response was, we need to do whatever we need to do to keep the kids safe. Do you recall saying that? Yes. Okay. Why didn't you think that the children were safe with Veronica Butler? Because they were being abused. Was it your understanding that Miss Butler was allowing the abuse to continue? Yes, ma'am. You said that you've known Paul Grice since he was a child, correct? Yes, ma'am. And that you were close to one of his sisters in high school? Yes, ma'am. And that you knew Tad Collin in high school? Is that correct? Or is that right? Yes, ma'am. Prior to 2022, were you close to Paul Grice? No, I hadn't seen Paul in a few years. What about Ted Collin? Hadn't seen him in a few years either. And the cooks, note, just met them. Mr. Leach had asked you about if anyone had any options other than to kill Veronica, and you testified that It says, well, let me tell you this. I mean, did you think of any other options other than having her killed? Other than going back to court and nobody could afford it? Did you feel that court is the proper place to work these kinds of situations? It can be. Fair to say that's what you desired, correct? Yes. Okay. Fair to say that's going through court civilly is a very expensive process. Yes, ma'am. And if you know how long Miss Adams and Mr. Collum had been the giddy, I can't even say it, with regards to the grandchildren, at least 4 years. I think more than that, but I'm not sure. So that's a long time. She's crazy. When they're not in litigation, there, like I say now, was Tad Collum, did he work for a living? Yes. What did he do? He ran a farm and ran cows. Okay. And I believe you described Mr. Collum in your interview that he's such a nice guy that he'd give you the shirt right off your back. Is that right? Yes. What about Miss Adams? Did she work the same? She ran a farm and had some cows. And that's also what you and Mr. Twombly, you also had a farm, correct? Yes, ma'am. What about Paul Grice? He worked for his cousin. Okay, doing what if you know? Cattle work, farm work, farm work. All right, okay, so I'm just going to label this plan 1, the Anvil/Vice plan, okay? I believe you said that it was Miss Adams that came up with the idea. Is that correct? To my knowledge, yes, ma'am. And did she come to you with that idea herself or was it a group? I honestly don't remember. Okay, so if correct, me if I'm wrong, the plan was for you and Mr. Collum to drive to Hugoton, where she lived, and get in front of her and for Mr. Collum to throw an anvil or a vice out of the back of the truck into her windshield. And she says, yeah. Okay, and I believe you testified that Miss Adams wanted you guys to practice and she left. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Mr. Collum didn't practice, did he? No, ma'am. Okay, did you practice? No, ma'am. Okay, did you ever think that was a likely situation to occur? No, ma'am. Why is that? Maybe I don't know if it would or not, but I hoped it wouldn't. Did Tad ever tell you, gosh, I hope this works? No, ma'am. Okay, did he have any problems with this plan 1? I don't know. Okay, and that was while you and Mr. Collum were doing this, what was Tiffany doing? What was her role in the plan, in plan 1? She was supposed to let us know when Veronica left and where she was going. Fair to say that Miss Adams is the one that keeps coming up with the plans and having you guys do the dirty work? Seemed that way. Okay, you said that you were clearing trees. Was that on your property? Yes, ma'am. Okay, and Mr. Collum came over that same day, correct? Yes, ma'am. Was Paul Grice there? If he was, he'd been there earlier and then left, but I don't know. And this, sorry, go ahead. I don't know for sure if he was there that day or not. Did Mr. Collum help you clear trees that day? Yes. Okay, so that was essentially the reason for people coming over is to assist in clearing the trees. Yes, ma'am. You said that Tiffany Adams bought burner phones, correct? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Was that her idea to get burner phones or was that your idea? No, that was my idea. Okay. And what was the purpose of buying burner phones? Because she didn't know how we were going to communicate without taking our phones. Okay. And how many, if you know, did she buy? I know there were 3. 3 and 3 when were you, or sorry, it says 3. When you were on Veronica Butler's birthday of February 28th, 2024, did you actually go into Kansas, you and Mr. Collum? And at any point, did Mr. Collum ever get in the back of the truck? No. Stayed in the cab part? Yes, ma'am. So I believe you testified that a new plan we'll call this plan 2, was constructed. Who came up with the plan number 2? I don't know who came up with it. Who told you about plan number 2? Tiffany. So my understanding of plan number 2 was that it has to be on a Saturday because that's when visitation would take place, correct? Yes, ma'am. Okay, and I believe you testified that this plan number 2 was kind of concocted maybe 2 or 3 weeks prior to it being executed. Is that correct? I believe so, yes. And how many times did you talk to Tiffany about plan number 2? I don't know, 4 or 5. And how many times did you talk to Paul Grice about plan number 2? About the same. We were usually all together when we talked about it. What about Mr. Collum? The same. So did you ever have any like one-on-one with Miss Adams with regard to this plan? Not that I can recall specifically. What about Mr. Grice? No. So anytime that the plan number 2 was discussed, it was done as a group. Yes, ma'am. Was it always done with all 5 people or all 4 people being there? And I'm going to make sure I get this on record, meaning you, Tiffany Adams, Paul Grice, and Ted Collum, correct? Yes, to the best of my recollection, we were all there. And when you would have these conversations, where would you have them? Usually in someone's vehicle in the driveway, okay, or away from everyone else. So it would be the 4 of you in one vehicle, yes. And the vehicles, they are all pickup trucks or are some of them cars? Both. Okay, and did you always sit in the same position in the vehicle? No, not necessarily. Okay, whose idea was it to get a flatbed and a trailer? I don't know. Who told you to be a lookout? Tiffany. Who told you to get your half-ton Chevy truck? Tiffany. Presenting states Exhibit 13. Can you see that okay, ma'am? She says, yes. Okay. Is this the trailer that we're talking about? Yes, ma'am. Questions. It says, called a hot shot. Is it what we call a gooseneck trailer? Yes, ma'am. Are these unique around here or common? They are pretty common. Okay. Did you have one of these or something similar to that? We had a stock trailer. Okay. Stock trailer, not a hot shot. What about Tiffany Adams? Did she have a trailer like this? Yes. Paul Grice? Yes. Tad McCollum? Yes. So a lot of people going around here have these. It's not uncommon. Yes, ma'am. And while we're still States Exhibit 13, there are 2 openings to get into this trailer. Yes, ma'am. One being in the back. Is that correct? Yes. One being in the front or on the side. Is that correct? Yes. Is there another door on the other side? No. Just one door? Yes. And then how does referring to States Exhibit 14, how does that gate open? Does it open like this or to the side? To the side. And so you've got one that swings out or 2 that swing out. 1. Okay. So per your testimony, Miss Adams her job was to get Miss Butler and whoever was accompanying her into the trailer and for Mr. Collum and Mr. Grice to kill them, right? Yes. Okay. That was my understanding. Okay, all right. So I'm going to ask you about the tasers or stun guns. Who purchased those? Tiffany. Whose idea was that? I have no idea. Were you given instructions as to what to do with the stun guns? Just to have it in case we needed it. Okay, did you ever hear any instructions to anyone else about the tasers or the stun guns? No. The freezer that we talked about, isn't it true that Tiffany said that she had a freezer? She said she was going to put the freezer in there. I assumed it was hers. Okay. And whose idea if you know, was the freezer? I don't know. Okay. And you said that Tiffany had told you that I just wanted to make sure I'm understanding here. She told you that they're going to put in a freezer, right? They're going to be put in a freezer. Yes. Okay. But you don't know if that was necessarily her plan or someone else's idea. No. Going to the burial site, you said that you had been there once before. Is that correct? Yes. And what was the purpose of you being there? Tad had some bulls. Tad had some bulls that got out on a neighbor, and Cole and I went and picked them and dropped them off in the pasture for him. Okay, is that common to lease land for your cattle to graze out there? Yes, ma'am. At some point, you testified that the plan had changed. There was a need for a 5th person. Do you recall saying that? Yes. Who said that? I believe Tiffany told me that. Okay, and fair to say up to this point, you hadn't involved your husband. Is that right? Yes. Was it who you went to Cole, and was it you who went to Cole and said, hey, we need your help? Spousal privilege. And it says it was sustained. So it says, why not ask Barrett and Lacey Cook? Because they weren't involved. And when you say, what do you mean they're not involved? I mean, they didn't know what was going on, but they were aware of the essay of the children, right? Yes. But they weren't involved in the subgroup as the state calls it. Right. Okay. So Mr. Leach asked you about when you became aware of that Jilian Kelly will be accompanying Veronica Butler. Do you recall him asking that? Yes. And that was the day before, correct? Yes. Did you know anything about Miss Kelly at that point? No, not specifically. Okay, to your knowledge, did anyone know anything about her? No. Showing what has already been omitted as states Exhibit 7. Do you recall that picture? Yes. And if you look at the top, I guess that would be north. No, ma'am. Okay, may I approach the witness, Your Honor? Okay, approaches. Can you indicate which way? Oh, sorry. Where are we at? Can you indicate which way is north on this photograph? North would be in this direction. This direction, okay, so that would be the correct northeast, southwest. Yes, okay. There is a highway that crosses that way, correct? No. Or a state road, something. There's a county road to the north. The state highway is to the east. Okay, and what was the name of the road that you were traveling south on? 95, and that's a blacktop road, correct? Yes, ma'am. Fair to say, where you were, where you are, where you can see Miss Butler's vehicle, that you can see the traffic coming and going along that road. Yes. To your knowledge, going back to the day, was there light traffic, heavy traffic, light traffic? Is that typical for weekends versus weekdays? I don't know. I don't travel that road a lot. So you testified the day before, March 29th, early in the morning, that you and Tiffany Adams and Paul Grice and Tad Collum went to the site marked in States Exhibit 7. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Whose idea was it to go out there? Tad's. Okay. And I believe you even said he had a lot of problems with this, correct? Yes. Did anybody listen to him? Apparently not. Okay, fair to say that Mr. Collum and Miss Adams had been in a romantic relationship for several years. Is that a fair statement? To my knowledge, yes. And you had the opportunity to observe their relationship. Is that fair? Yes. Okay, does Mr. Collum tend to listen to Miss Adams? Typically. Okay, is that generally true of people around Miss Adams tend to listen to her? Typically. She's a leader of some sort, correct? That's the kind of personality that she has. Yes, ma'am. Okay, and I believe you testified that Mr. Paul Grice and Mr. Collum had said that they didn't bring firearms because they can be traced. Is that right? Yes, ma'am. Did they both say that? One say it, or do you know? I don't know for sure. Okay, but on that day, you were wearing a firearm, correct? I had one with me. Yes, ma'am. And Paul Grice had a firearm, did he not? Yes, ma'am. Did you see anybody else with a firearm that day? Not that I recall. And you testified about gloves, about there were no specific conversations about everybody wearing gloves. Do you recall that? Yeah, I recall that statement. Was everybody wearing gloves, or some people were wearing gloves? I believe everybody was, but I'm not positive. I know I was. What kind of gloves was everyone wearing? Cotton gloves. Any cotton, because it's what we had. Okay, to your knowledge, the people that were wearing gloves, were they all cotton gloves? As far as I'm aware of, yeah. And Mr. Leach had inquired about how everybody was kind of dressed similar about in hoodies and hats. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Is that going back to that day, that morning? Do you recall that what the temperature was? Cool. So like that day, what was the temperature? Is that what you would normally typically wear on a morning such as when the temperature is as cool as it was? Yes, ma'am. Is that what you guys would generally wear anyway? Yes. So the morning you were well aware of the fact that 2 women were going to die. Yes. And I believe you said that we all had problems with it, but that was the plan. Yes. Was there anyone specifically that was directing you guys to do certain things? What do you mean? Well, you all met up first. Where did you meet up first? Where did the 5 of you meet? That day? That day. That day, the 5 of us weren't back together until supper. So the night before you were all together, right? Or the day before? And it says on Friday. Yes. On Friday morning, it was just the 4 of us. Okay. I apologize. I meant the 4 of you. Yes. I met yourself, Tiffany Adams, Paul Grice, and Tad Collum. Yes. Okay. So what about that morning? Were the 4 of you together that morning? Saturday morning? Yes. Answered no. Okay. Did you receive a phone call from anybody that morning? Not that I can recall. No. So how did you know what time to leave your house? Because we talked about it the day before. Okay. Did anyone tell you, hey, you need to be out of your house by this time? and be in this place at this time? Not specifically, just that when she was supposed to meet them. Okay, when you say when Veronica was supposed to be there. Okay, and who had communicated with Tiffany? Okay, and who had communicated with Tiffany? Communicated with Veronica Butler, correct? Yes. Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, you were supposed to follow Veronica's. You okay? I think she's good. You're supposed to follow Veronica's car to that spot, correct? Yes, ma'am. And that Tiffany's job was to lure them into the trailer. Yes, ma'am. Do you know how she was going to do that? Go about that. She was going to tell the kids had something in there that they wanted her to show her. Okay. To your knowledge, do you know if she had a conversation with Veronica Butler that morning? I assume she did, but I wasn't there for it. You testified that you assumed that the hole was dug the day before the murders, correct? Yes. You don't know that for a fact, do you? No. So at some point you see Veronica Butler's car and you get behind her and eventually you pull off, correct? Yes, ma'am. Once you pull off the road, what do? Wait. You just wait in your car? Yes. And what do you do while you're waiting? Watching across the road. Okay. Did you have a clear sight across the road? Yeah. A decent, yeah. Okay. Describe what you saw from your car. I could see Veronica's car and the pickup and trailer. And then I saw somebody running, two people running from the direction of the trailer to the direction of the car. Do you know who those two people were? I do now. Yes. Who were they? Paul and Veronica. Okay. And you saw Paul over Veronica with stabbing motions. Is that correct? Yes. Did you ever see Jillian Kelly? I did not. And fair to say, did you see Tad Collum doing anything? Walking? Okay. That's all I ever saw him do. Fair to say that you were more focused on what what was going on with Paul and Veronica? Yes, ma'am. Okay. And what's going on through your mind while this is all happening? Lots of things, but what are you in regards to what? Well, I'm asking the question, at what point do you get out of your car? At what point is that what you said? Yes. That doesn't make sense, but okay. After I pulled across the road, after I saw the two people running, I pulled across the road and got out of my pickup. Okay. And what did you get? And did you get out of your pickup because you saw what was going on with Paul? Yes, ma'am. Okay. And then you get out of your car. What do you do next? I go over to where Paul and Veronica are. Do you hear anything when you get out of your car? I don't recall hearing. All I recall hearing is Paul asking for help. Okay. That's all I recall. And is he just saying it? Is he screaming it? How is he? He is screaming it. Okay. And do you go over and help Paul? No. Does anyone go over and help Paul? I went over to Tiffany. I went over and Tiffany was coming to where I was at. I took the phone and handed her my flashlight taser and told her to go help Paul. And do you know she went to help Paul? I assume that she did. Okay. And so after that, is that when you go and destroy the phones? After I get the other one out of the car, yes. And going back to when you went to Miss Butler's car, were the doors open or closed? Closed. Okay. The vehicle was on, correct? Yes, ma'am. Was there, how did you know that their cell phones were in the car? I didn't until I got in the car. Okay. Did anyone tell you to go to the car? No. And you did find phones in the car, correct? One. And you said you went in through the passenger side? Yes, ma'am. And it was on the console. And she says, yes. Okay. At some point, do you hand Paul tape? Yes. Okay. Where are you? And where is Paul when you give him the tape? I was outside the trailer and he was inside the trailer. And then it says, may I approach the witness? Okay. And it's just, showing her State's Exhibit 13. Could you show us where you were? I was on the other side of the trailer. We're on the opposite side, about where your thumb's at, where my thumb is. Yeah. And is Paul inside the trailer? Yes, ma'am. And then you hand him the tape through the slits at the top. Yes. Okay, thank you. Did you see Paul get into the trailer? No. At some point you said you saw, I believe it was Tad was in the trailer pulling a Veronica and Paul Grice was outside of the trailer helping lift. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, so did you hand Paul the tape after that, after you saw that? Yes. Okay, do you recall if the gate was open or closed at that time? Closed. Because that would explain why you had to do it over the slits right. Yes, ma'am. Do you recall seeing who, if anybody, closed that trailer? I don't recall who closed the trailer. You said you could see the freezer from where you were standing outside of the trailer, correct? 1 point, yes, ma'am. Miss Miskell says, okay, may I approach the witness again? And then she's showing her 14. Can you point out to where you saw the freezer? And she points right there. So on the left side of the trailer. Yes, ma'am. And if you were to look at the freezer where it opens, like you're going to pull it open, is that way? Is that the way it was, or was it to the side? No, it was set east to west, but it opened to the front of the trailer. Okay, thank you. Was the freezer door, was it opened or closed? Closed. Have you ever seen that freezer before? No. Okay, it was unusual for people to have extra freezers in their garage or on their lands. It is not. Sorry. It is it. Oh, no. It says, is it unusual? She says no. Okay, if you know what's the lifespan of a freezer, a deep freeze, one that's being used to, like it's supposed to anywhere from 5 to 20 years. The fact of the matter is that at some point they're going to kaput. I don't know. Yes, ma'am. I don't know. Okay. And if you know how do you just and if you know how do you dispose of a freezer? You either use it for something or throw it in a pit usually. Okay, because nobody will dispose of them. It is unusual for people to have freezers that don't work on their land, just store them somewhere. No. So at some point, did you notice the blood on the ground? Yes, ma'am. Okay, did you point it out to anybody, or did anybody point it out to you? Tiffany pointed it out to me. And I believe you said you went and you got the shovel off the flatbed. Is that correct? Yes. Did you put the shovel on there? No. Okay. Do you know who did? No, but a lot of people carry a shovel in the back of their pickup. Okay. And I believe you said that did you put dirt over the blood? Yes, ma'am. Okay. And what was Tiffany doing while you were doing that? Looking around to see what else was needed, what else needed done, or what else was there. Okay. Did you ever get your tape back from Paul? Oh, Christ. No. Did you see the trailer leave? Yes. And who was left after the trailer left? Tiffany and myself. Okay. And I believe that's when you got into your pickup truck, correct? Yes. And you drove her back to her house? Yes. And I believe you said there was a conversation about Tiffany saying that didn't go as planned? Yes. So you dropped Tiffany off at her house, correct? Yes. And then you go back to your house. Is that right? Yes. First of all, how long does it take you to drive from the crime scene to Tiffany's house? 10 to 15 minutes, maybe. Okay. Was there a lot of talking going on between you and Tiffany in that 10 to 20 or 10 to 15 minutes? Not particularly. I mean, just the things didn't go as planned and there was a lot of blood. Okay. When you get home and you called your daughter, Kinsey, correct? Yes, ma'am. And you said you called her with your phone, not the burner phone. Yes, ma'am. And where was Kenzie at? She was doing chores, and she was with a friend, correct? Doing chores. Yes, ma'am. Where was she at the farm, or where was she at the farm doing chores? Yes, ma'am. Okay. And how far away is that farm from your house? About 6 miles. And that you change clothes and then you put them in the bag and you put them under a floorboard in the closet, correct? Yes. And then you talk about the Twombly farm that's held in a corporation for the Twombly family members. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Are you all included in that? No. Okay. Is Kenzie? No. Okay. You said you found some floor dry and claw hammer in the back of the flatbed, correct? Yes, ma'am. So floor dry, tell us what that means or what it is used for. It's absorb spills in a shop to put on oil spills. Okay. What was that an unusual thing to see? No, I mean, go ahead. We didn't have any, but it was not unusual product to have. And talk of this claw hammer. Do you know how that got to be there? No. Okay. So at some point you dispose of the floor dry with everything else? Yes, ma'am. Okay. So the floor dry and the claw hammer and the burner phones were dropped in that incinerator hole, correct? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So Kenzie's 15 at the time that this is all happening, correct? Or is she 16? She's 16. And so Kenzie's aware of plan number 1 and plan number 2. And I know you didn't testify. Well, under oath in your interview, you said you didn't lie to your child. Is that right? Try not to. Okay. What were you thinking about telling her this? What were you thinking about telling her this stuff? Honestly, I told her as little as possible just so she would quit asking questions. This is craziness. Um, Fair to say that it's probably had an impact on her life. Yes. And you said she went to her brother's house, right? Yes. Clinton, is that correct? Yes, ma'am. And is Clinton your son? Yes, ma'am. Okay. And are they pretty close? Yes. And how old is Clinton? 22. Okay. To your knowledge, was Clinton aware of any of the things that were happening? No. And do you know if Kenzie told her brother anything before being questioned by law enforcement? Yes, she said she did. I'm like super thirsty. Sorry. Still sleeping back there? Okay. So you testified that you called Tad Collum because you knew he had been involved in litigation regarding custody of his own child, right? Yes. And that he told you to go get your daughter, right? Yes. And I believe you testified at that time he didn't know or no one knew that Kenzie knew anything. Is that right? Right. So we're going over to, I guess that was a Saturday. So on Wednesday, you all met again. Is that right? Yes, ma'am. Okay. And you have a conversation with Paul? Yeah. How many conversations did you have with Paul Grice after the murder? Probably 4 or 5. Okay. And at some point, Paul told you he killed Jillian Kelly, didn't he? Yes, ma'am. Did that surprise you? Yes. Did Paul seem, in your opinion, upset about his involvement in this? Yes. And have you watched Paul Grice's first interview? Just part of it. Okay. What about his second interview? No. You haven't seen it yet? No. They need a minute. It's counsel for Tad Collum. Okay, so now they have Miss Miskell has a couple of follow-up questions. Were you given the opportunity to observe the grandchildren after they had a visitation with their mom? Yes. And would their demeanor be different? Yes. They were aggressive, mean, upset, not happy. Probably because they weren't with their mom no more. Was it your understanding or belief that if something wasn't done, that these children would be further victimized? Yes. And I believe you said that you were basically getting a life suspended with the first 30 to do. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. And this is in exchange for your testimony here today. Yes. And at the jury trial, yes. And I believe you said something to the effect of not the Stevens County DA in Kansas has agreed to not prosecute as part of this agreement. Yes. And do you know what that would be for? Not exactly, no. Okay. Is part of the agreement also to protect Kenzie? Yes. So she won't have to testify, correct? Yes. Well, not for you, but maybe, well, I guess, yeah, that'd be just for her. May I have one more minute? Yes, okay. They want to redirect. So we got to redirect. The trip to Hugoton was February 28th to kill Veronica Butler. I mean, it was serious enough that you all bought burner phones, right? Yes, sir. And you guys bought a Vice, right? Yes, sir. And if it's a joke, you're not bringing advice, right? Right. It wasn't a joke, was it? No, sir. You said that you were asked a question, let's call it a leading question, and you may have said something to the effect that the freezer came from Tiffany, that it was her freezer. You don't know who the freezer came from, right? No. You don't know who owned the freezer. You don't know who provided the freezer. No. When you all were discussing and were hearing the plan and everyone's talking, there's going to be a freezer, but did anyone say they were providing the freezer? No. There was nothing on it that said, I belong to anybody. No. And what I'm needing here is just clarification from you. Okay. If I remember your interview correctly, as far as your sworn interview, you were describing the firearms that everybody had at the scene. You described the firearm that Tad had. You described the firearm you had. You described the firearm that Cole was carrying that day. And you described the firearm that Paul had. And you gave us specific descriptions with regard to what kind of firearms they had, including your firearm. In fact, you had more than one, but that day you had a specific firearm. And if I also remember correctly, you didn't know if Tiffany, and this is Miss Miskell said, Your Honor, I'm going to object to leading. The court will allow him to ask his question. What I'm needing to know today is that you testified that there are 2 firearms at the scene as opposed to 4 firearms, or at least 4 defendants having 4 firearms. I need to know which one is it. Okay, it was my understanding when he asked that question in my interview what each of us typically carried. Okay, not specifically on that day. Okay, so at the crime scene that day, it would be your testimony as far as the firearms that you actually saw. You saw Paul with a firearm and you had a firearm. Yes. Okay, and earlier in the day when you left the house, did Cole have a firearm? Yes. At the scene, you don't know if Tad Cullum had a firearm or not? No, I do not know. Um, and would it be fair at the scene you didn't hardly see Tad Cullum, did you? Not hardly, no. Most of the time he was in the trailer somewhere. I didn't see him because I wasn't in the trailer. Okay, and when you did see him, he was in the trailer pulling Veronica's body into the trailer. Yes. And there would have been no way for you to see if he had a firearm at that time or not? No. Did you see him walk down the side of the truck and get in the truck as far as driving the truck away? No, sir. You talked about on cross you talked about Tiffany and her leadership skills with regard to Tiffany and her personality. Did everyone like her? Everybody in our group. Everybody in general. No. Okay. Not everyone in general liked her. Okay. Were there basically two groups of people? Yes, sir. And what were those groups? The ones that liked her and the ones that hated her. Okay, the ones that hated her, they wouldn't follow her, would they? No. So she wasn't a leader of all people. No. Okay, so you saw no documents with regard to anything that told you that or that verified that Cooper was that Cooper had molested anyone. You didn't read anything, did you? Not before we were arrested, no. Okay, and what did you read afterwards? It dealt with documents in Kansas, right? Do you even know where they where they were from? I don't. Okay, if there were documents in Kansas that dealt with Cooper and someone else in Kansas, would you even know them? Would I know what they were in Kansas? Would I know that they were Kansas documents, or would you know the substance of the documents? Just what I read was on them. Okay, and it was Cooper and somebody else, right? Yes. It wasn't the grandkids, was it? No. Would it shock you if I didn't file a case in the state of Oklahoma on something that happened in Kansas? No. Cooper is a juvenile, or is he an adult? He's a juvenile, I believe. Okay, in the state of Kansas, he's a juvenile too, right? I assume. So if something were filed, that file would be sealed, wouldn't it? Yes, sir. Wouldn't be open to public. Wouldn't be open to the public. No, sir. No one would even know. No, sir. You have no idea of I declined anything, do you? No, sir. You have no idea if I filed anything, do you? No. You told us about the visitation schedules as far as how it worked. We had supervised visitation, right? Yes. For 10 hours a day on Saturdays. Yes. And that was it. And that's what we're dealing with, right? Yes. And that was supervised. Yes. And that was what the court ordered. Yes. And Tiffany Adams got to provide her own person to supervise it, right? Yes. And they did that every Saturday unless someone got sick. Yes. And Tiffany used Cheryl Brunn, didn't she? Yes. Okay. That's her person, right? Yes. Okay. So this goes on, and this is how a visitation is done. And Cheryl Brunn, she is with Veronica Butler and she is with the children, right? I assume so. And that's a person that Tiffany Adams trusts. I assume so. Okay. And 2 weeks before the 30th, Cheryl Brunn was with those kids and with Veronica Butler, right? Because that's how they were doing it, right? As far as I know, yes. Okay. And as far as Cheryl Brunn is with these kids, those kids are safe, aren't they? I assume so. Okay. So every weekend she's with those kids and those kids are safe. I assume so. Right? On the 30th, Cheryl Brunn wasn't with the kids, was she? No. Why? Because Tiffany wanted to serve someone else up, right? I guess so. She didn't want Cheryl Brunn killed, did she? I don't know what she was thinking. Okay, she didn't provide the supervisor. She didn't provide her supervisor, did she, on the 30th? No. So basically the person that was served up to die, that person came from Veronica Butler. Yes. Tiffany could have used Cheryl Braun that day, right? Yes. So her person is with the child pursuant to the court order, and it's that time every weekend. That's how it is. Yes. Those kids were in absolutely no danger whatsoever of being molested on that day. Objection asked and answered. Okay. And um, let's see, where is it at? So if the children were not in any danger of being molested or abused, why did Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly have to die on the 30th? So that Veronica never had a chance to let them be abused, I guess. Okay, if you follow that reasoning, then basically what we would do is we would take every sex offender in our country, we'd line them up on a wall, and we'd shoot them all. Is that what you believe we should do? No. That's the distinction. Why not? And that was it. Judge said no further questions. Oh, we got a recross. Cora, you mentioned on March 30th that Cole had a firearm with him that morning. Yes, ma'am. That would not be unusual, would it? No, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Recross again. Fair to say, based on your testimony today, that you saw Tad call him at the scene one time in the trailer. Is that correct? Judge, we're going to object. It's outside my cross or my redirect. And then the court said, I believe it is. Miss Miskell, ask your question again. So it says, you'll be permitted to ask that question. The witness says, one time in the trailer. Yes, yes. Okay. And you said you looked through all of the discovery, correct? Most of it, not all of it. Is this one there? Okay. I know on one of these, is this the last page? Yeah, it is. Okay. Wait. Okay. See where it says Paul Grice? That's because it messes up. I want to make sure we got it all. These are just the lawyers talking back and forth. There's no questions right here. So, okay. So there's the question. I am handing you what's been Bates stamp 2410. Do you recognize that? And then the court, Mr. Leach, do you know what she's going to show her? I have no idea, Judge. Judge may, we approach the bench. Okay, well, it's a preliminary hearing. You don't really have to approach, but you may. Okay, so they're saying that we have a situation where it can't talk. We can't talk about some of the files. Like some of the files, they're sealed or something. They're still talking about. She made the comment that I declined, but it was filed. That's the lawyers going back and forth. So that was the last question. Yeah, that was the last question. And you said you looked through all the discovery. Okay. Because like down here, it'll show you Paul Grice again. And then it goes into like his direct examination. And so I thought it might have been the part that we were missing from that, but it's not. So, and this is the end of it. So I'm like, where is it? Because we missed part of Paul's like testimony. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna find it because I got most of the documents now to where I can look through them and see if I can find that. And then yeah, I'll be back on here. But thank you guys all for being here tonight. Oh, Sloppy Joes sound good. Hey, Zerper. It is. This case is. But we do have two of the defendants have went ahead and they've said, hey, I did it. I mean, I'll give Cora and Paul Grice I'll give them the benefit, for that. Really, you wouldn't catch me admitting nothing like that. But I would never do that. And I appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys have a great evening. I will be on tomorrow evening. We'll be talking. Or wait, what's tomorrow? Wednesday? I don't know. I'm gonna take a day off this week. I say that every week, don't I? But I do. I feel like I need a day of like rest. You know what I mean? And like get my interview questions ready for Saturday's special guest and like just to get some stuff, together and ready with my life and in general around this house. But it'll either be probably tomorrow or Thursday. I'll do that. Maybe even Friday. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'll make sure I put it on the community tab, but I'll probably be back tomorrow. And then we'll talk about, because I want to talk about Luigi Mangione too. He went to court today. He got some stuff taken off of his, like some charges taken off. And I wanted to go through some paperwork of his and go through just the whole case again and get caught up with that one. So thank you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate you guys so much. We did another 2.5 hour live. I was making sure we were getting through that one tonight. But thank you guys all for being here. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. Bye, guys.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to live this out. We